So I'm sure all of us have heard now that Adobe is doing stuff with AI within its packages. It's in a beta format, very, very new. It's utilizing something that Adobe is calling Firefly for generative AI tools. You can learn more about Firefly on their website, and then they already have exploring the new Photoshop as one of their elements. This is Firefly beta. There's examples of text image, generative fill that we see for Photoshop, text effects, generative recolor. This is in exploration, 3D to image, and then change the aspect of your image with a single click, but you can do that with a couple more than a single click. It's interesting. So what I did just to try the beta is I downloaded it uh, just recently. So again, it's over in right here. You can just join the beta. There's multiple applications that you can do the generative AI with. Right now, I am just going to show in Photoshop. So let me open a file. Let's see. So these are photos that I took. So I'm going to just take a random one like this, a lot of wires and everything. And you can see down here, here is the prompt that comes up. If you do window, contextual taskbar goes away. So contextual taskbar. So I've got a background image, and then basically once I do a lasso selection or marquee selection, you can see right here, generative fill. So you can, once you click this, you're going to get this prompt. And then I was curious, so generative AI in Adobe Apps, using generative AI technology, when you click agree, you're agreeing to these user guidelines. So I was interested. This is the Adobe Generative AI user guidelines, just updated May 8th. And then there's additional guidelines, and then the beta Gen AI additional terms. So the main thing that they're kind of saying here is be respectful and safe in terms of the objects. Don't use anything about your profile that is misleading. And then be respectful of third-party rights in terms of anything that violates copyright, trademark, and other rights. So they're explicitly saying that you're not supposed to do certain things in it. And then the one big kicker to make sure that you know, right now the beta, there is no commercial use for it. And then Adobe can take action against your Adobe account. So what I did is, and then there's an abuse at adobe.com. This is the additional terms. I went to the additional terms, and it is talking about the input image or context that you are providing, and then you as the user are responsible for your input. And then again, you must not submit any input that includes trademarks or other materials protected by third-party intellectual property rights. Personal information again, your what you're using this for. And then the interesting thing down here, licenses to Adobe, Firefly Gallery. If you submit output images basically to the Firefly Gallery, which is a feature of Firefly Beta, so this is the Firefly portion, you are granting them non-exclusive, irrevocable, worldwide royalty-free license to use and replace. So that's within the Firefly Beta, and just talking about general improvement. So I have a feeling this is going to be very fluid, and that's why it's at a beta stage right now for this all. So there's a lot to unpack with this. So let me click agree. So now here's where you can enter and it will source imagery, but what I do like is if you don't, it's going to leave this blank, and you basically are going to source your own image file. So now that I have this element and I'm circling the telephone pole and I click generate, we'll see what happens. I'm going to let it go real time so you can kind of see. It does, a lot of times it's sped up. It does take a second for it to process the element. It's not laser fast, but it is still pretty fast. And there we go. The telephone pole is gone. What you can see here is you'll have 3 variations of what it did. It's a separate layer, which is nice. So what's interesting is it basically removed the telephone pole, but didn't remove the wire. So it didn't leave these wires hanging. It actually continued the wires. Now you got 3 versions that it saves. So here it's just trying to remove part of it. And then here it changed the telephone pole from that to that. So it shrunk it down and added like a little bit of wire. So obviously this one's probably the best. And then, you know, what you can do is go back through, do that, generative fill, generate, and it should just, hopefully we'll see that it just removes this. Now this is a simplistic way to do it right now because, you know, it's basically a blue field behind it. So you could do this by hand, manually, and there you see. So it got rid of it here and then going from here. So we have 2 layers. So it's non-destructive. It gives you the alpha that it's working from. So you could always go back in from the alpha and replace it. So nothing really huge out of this, but let's try doing across here. Let's try a bigger swatch. All this tangle, generative, generate. I'll be interested to see what we get. And yeah, that's not bad. Although it did, if you like this puff, we've lost that puff and it made it a horizontal line. And we still have all these wires over it. Now there's that version which actually clustered more wires, which is kind of funny. And then this one. Let's see, this one. This one's not too bad, but again, we still have the wires. You know, there's other ways that we could get rid of these wires, so it is interesting. I actually like still having these clouds. Let me just try doing a small section. And it didn't really do much. So again, let's move this down. I selected that and I just replaced it with more wire and more wire. Oh, it's off right now. So it didn't actually remove it. So it is interesting like what it tries to command from it all. Let me try doing a big swatch. Let's see what this gives us. And there, that's probably a better rendition of everything. But again, we still have the pole, we still have all these wires. So the AI is actually definitely having a problem with all of this overlapping line work and poles. And that's kind of the reason I wanted to test this image to see. And then the other thing, my image is at, it's 4,300 pixels wide and 28 high. How is the clarity? And you can see in here Turn this on and off. It's a little soft. I think I read that it basically is able to do like a 1K fill in terms of it all. Now if we just group all of these generative, you can see the clarity versus what we have there. So there is some softening, but you can get away with a little bit with the clouds and obviously a blue background. So let me see if I can get another image. So here's an image, and let's see if I can, let's see what the AI will do with this palm tree that's right in the middle of this photo. Generative fill, generate. What I would hope is it would just remove the palm tree. So it replaced it with another tall object. Obviously we got 3, so I didn't even prompt it to put a building. There it's got some wires. And then here it's got this. Now that looks like a lighthouse, which is kind of funny because it doesn't really know that this is not by the ocean. And it's got some kind of piping and stuff. So that is kind of funny, like it just replaced it with something similar but detailed. The only thing I will say that is actually kind of neat, the light source is correct. The perspective is relatively looking good. This one is a little too hazed out. And then this one probably is the most, and then I could just do a, marquee selection to get that. So let's try another image. So maybe let's try this image and try to expand the canvas. So let me do canvas size 4800. Go a little wider. Image canvas. Make that right hand side a little wider. So there, now we have that. So if I just do, so we got both sides and generate. Let's see. And I'm purposely letting you watch how long it takes, because in a lot of these demos it just clicks and does it, and that's not accurate. So the funny thing is it kept a little sliver. That could be my fault that I didn't overlap. Sometimes they say it's better to overlap more. So here, let's turn that off and let's do that again. Let me just do one side. So I'm going to select that, generate, because I've seen that with people where you want to give it a little bit more source data. Yeah, see, that's better. And then again, you'll have the options. See, it gave it like a little steeple. That doesn't look bad. I don't know what kind of truck or car that is. And then that one's better. See, is that the same? No, there's a car over here. Feels like it's turning. This actually feels better. Now I wonder if I duplicated the layer. I think if I wanted that one and I have this one, yeah, it looks like I can mix and match between the two. So that's kind of cool. It saves the parameters, and since this is on an alpha layer, then you can work across and maybe keep, see See, that's this one. You know, what if you wanted to go back in and remove one, or in this one, see, that's this one. Let's remove that bad car and then put in the better car, which means you want to remove, and there you have, you know, a mix match of it, and then you could alpha more. So that's kind of cool that you can duplicate and mix and match the variations of it all. Now I'm just curious what this is going to do on this side. And that's not too bad. Now again, let's see the variations. There's that. Yeah, see, this one's better because it makes it look like it's still a sidewalk. Yeah, let's turn it on and off, because it doesn't really know what is there. There's like a line right here that could or could not be like something sticking up, but it actually looks like it's going across, so you could just clone that out. There's here, so again, we still have this little seam. And again, like the tree that was there, that might be a little better, but see, like this looks a little funky. There's like a nondescriptness to it. And then you got like a whole forest planted here right now. This one with the bush could work, and then you just have to clean up the side. So it's not perfect, but it is interesting to help fill things in for you and then work across to make sure. So like if I liked that one more, you know, I really want that church back there, then I could keep that, and I have the two layers, and then this one, and then remove anything that looks erroneous. So I you know, I still don't really know, and I want to read more on this. Obviously, I didn't get into anything about actually typing in, because as far as I know right now, if I don't type in, it's only sourcing my image, and I believe Adobe is not sourcing, especially since, you know, the whole license to actually use this is saying things like don't put certain things in here, that I would think that it's sourcing its own royalty free, which is why they're trying to build up, where is it, Firefly, to be its own data set is what I'm assuming. So anyone that builds things within Firefly is adding to their layers. But so I had this image, which you can tell right here, I expanded the canvas from screen left, and this one took a little bit longer for it to generate. I will say that I didn't show the time stamp on it, but what's interesting is the reason this one's tougher, right, is we have a reflection in the paint and the light source on the metal. So it came up with this on one part, and you know, the light's on top, the line back here continues across, even the paneling is repeated. So I'm not quite sure what's going on right here, but at first glance the line is clean, the reflection is something. This little floorboard spoiler, not 100% great, I think. Here, better, still have a reflection. This curly Q, but again, it continues these lines, so it's doing pretty good. I mean, there's a curvature to the window frame here that's probably not great, but the floorboard over here is better, and then this reflection isn't as good. So you could obviously mix and match the best pieces of these, but I was interested in what it was trying to computate to figure out, because again, it's got this weird shape in the image and then expand. So, you know, this is actually a pretty complex thing to figure out. So in terms of a clone job, it would take a little bit to do this proper on your own anyway. So it's pretty neat what it's able to come up with. If you look right here in the middle, this is already AI generated in the middle. This is what the photo looked like down here. And you can see this marquee box. All I did was draw a marquee selection. And then under here, you have that context taskbar. And then you just click generate and it'll basically make this layer. So I'll skip this for right now, move this back down and just show you. So it generated this. And honestly, pretty good. It's very seamless. But, you know, there is good parts like for cloning and fixing issues on your painting. This new generative fill could be really good. It actually makes it obsolete in some ways. Some of the cloning things that I've shown over the years and that people have problems with, and I'll show that in a second. So then there's basically this. So all I did was marquee select the ridge line back here. So, and I just literally, you can see it better here. I selected in there, and I think it was just doing the magic wand. So there's some things in here now that I still have to figure out right here. See, it auto selects areas now. There's this whole subject aspect that they're talking about, object selection and quick selection wand or magic wand. So I did the magic wand on the original image like this. Control D. We have that, and then it went through. So it made that selection. I did generative fill, Control D, and then it gave me this. And again, not only did it, you know, clone it and like the content aware, you know, put something in there, it's matching the image, you know, so it doesn't stand out as something looking funky. And then let's do this. There's a building that it added. All I did again was draw this little marquee. And all I said was, all I said in this one was tall building and hit generate. And it made this out of that. And it gives you 3 options like what the demo shows. And then I was like, okay, that's interesting. I drew another square and then I said a little bit more futuristic. So I called it tall futuristic building and it gave me this. Now this one's not matching as well as this one. And even like up top here, there would be things I would do, but considering it's making something on the fly and to have it actually sit pretty well for perspective, this is kind of crazy, you know, in the sense of how quickly Adobe adopted it and it's actually working in here. Now this is using, since we're text writing, this is where it's accessing it. Oh, and I think it does keep it live because I'm noticing down here it still has the 1, 2, and 3. So there's that, there's that. And if you see over here, it's basically, do you like it? Do you not like it? And I think you want to say something to them. And then this is just to hide or pin the bar position for this. So that's this right now as it is. It's very, very interesting already that we're seeing this. And then let me pull up one more that I did where, there we go, that we were talking about in that video that they showed. So here's the original image that we were just looking at. And all I did was expand the canvas and expand the canvas. And then because it's expanded, it basically, oh, that's the newest. So let's do this. It gave me this. And I thought this was interesting in terms of what the AI was thinking is this. There's a fringe around this image. We zoom in, you can see it. See, there's a line. I'm assuming the AI picked up on this line from the marquee and it thought it was something and it turned it into something. It extrapolated and thought it was like a radio tower, antenna tower. And again, it's kind of sitting in the space rather well. And then all of this is generated based off of what this image is. So, you know, if you're looking to expand the palette of an image, this is doing a relatively good job. You know, I gotta see here for that tool. Yeah, it does have 3, so I'm on it right here. So let's just see what the other version. See, there's another version. It didn't put it, and we have a seam. And then for some reason, it threw in some kind of text in here. So my guess is the first version is what it thinks is the best version because obviously this is the best version out of the 3. And it is funny, like each time, like this landscape is different. So again, like to come up with ideas for bringing things across and working on top of this. I mean, there is some actual good that this could have. So there's that right-hand side, and I believe I did this next. So it still had the line from here, and it actually carried it through, which is interesting right here. So if you turn that off, see there's that line. So when it went upwards, it's still not, so you could do another marquee. Let's try that. Marquee select, right? Now this is where you could just use the content aware, and content aware deals with this well right now. Let's just do generate. It's gonna take. So then there we go. Just like that, it got rid of the line and it doesn't look too bad, right? It still kept the spacing. Let's do this. Right there. So, you know, the spacing does come through a little bit, but it's pretty good. And actually, it's better than this version because look how dark that line is and it kind of sags down. The new version actually corrects for that and is in the better value range on that. So, you know, there's aspects of this that aren't malevolent in a way. Just curious here what the other, oh, there we go. Yeah, see, this is a better version. So this actually would be a case that I would probably like this version better. And then here it made it just a brighter sky. This is definitely, it's a hot button issue right now, and it's definitely out there and growing. And with a major player like Adobe jumping in with a lot of its programs with these abilities, it's really forcing this even faster. So be curious what people think about this.